Good evening, and welcome to the Hess News Network. On today's show, we will be discussing the topics of sexism and homophobia in the sports realm. The first issue we will be discussing is body image.
Labeled Muscle Mall by Vanity Fair, Babe Didrikson is an early example of how women face discrimination based on their body images. Because of her masculine build, she received backlash from the press for not having the ideal female image. During these years, the ideal look was based off the Gibson girls, women that had slim, hourglass figures, loosely upswept hair, and petite builds. Because of her extreme involvement in sports and lack of a husband, which was rare at the time, the press persecuted her with underlying hostility. She showed how young girls can excel in male-dominant activities.
Today on the Hess News Network, we will be interviewing a fellow Denison tennis player named Susan. Susan, recently there has been a lot of controversy over Serena Williams' catsuit. Many French officials claimed that uniforms have gone too far. How do you feel about this?
I do not feel that they have gone too far. Serena Williams needed that suit because she had blood clots in her, or was prone to blood clots in her body because of the birth of her child. And the fact that she was even able to play after 3 months of having a child was amazing. And people that got mad about that, how her catsuit was revealing in any kind of way, I do not agree with in any sort, any way.
The Hess News Network will be right back after this short commercial break.
You're getting a lot of fans here. A lot of them are female, and they want to know if you could date anyone in the world. Who would you date?
Any response to recent comments about your girlish figure? Are you serious?
Removing your body hair gives you an edge in the pool. How about your love life?
How has your weight gain affected your mobility?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Have you heard the controversy over your helmet hair?
Get ready to see some great biceps, tiny tanks, and more.
I wonder if his dad said to him when he was younger, listen, you're never going to be a looker, you're never going to be a Beckham, so you have to compensate for that.
He really does have the kind of body international judges love.
Could you give us a twirl and tell us about your outfit?
What?
Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man.
Can you give us a twirl and tell us about your outfit?
A twirl, like...
A twirl, a pirouette. Here we go.
Discussion of sexism and homophobia on the Hess News Network. Next, we will be talking about sexuality stereotypes that both men and women face in the sports realm.
Okay, I think when I was younger, experiencing sexism was, I remember in particular in elementary school when I wanted to be a little bit more assertive, and in gym class I was the one that was aggressive and athletic, and I remember that the boys would always want me to come play football or do something that at that time seemed more masculine, and I would always go over there and play, and it was the girls that would always make fun of me. The boys wanted it because they wanted somebody that was good and somebody that could compete with them, but the girls were the ones that really called me names and kind of thought that I was doing something that wasn't what girls should do. So that's what I remember growing up. I was always friends with the boys because I always played with them and could compete with them. I think later in life, I think that they look at female athletes a little bit differently now. I think that there's still most certainly sexism and stereotypes in elementary school and as you grow older, but I think that there are more girls participating, so I think it's much more acceptable today for a little girl to be involved in athletics, and I think it's something that parents value, so they try to get them interested a little bit sooner.
Today, many more opportunities for women in sports have risen throughout the years, but little has been done to reduce the stereotypical image of women in sports. The saying, "you play like a girl," characterizes women as being fragile, passive, and not able to compete. Yes, there is a natural difference between males and females, but does not explain the sex differences observed in sports performance and participation. The only reason sex differences in sports exist because people believe they exist. On top of that, people also perceive the gender appropriateness of sporting activities. In other words, they decide whether a sport is more appropriate for a male or for a female. For example, football is a male sport, while cheerleading is a female sport. And if a woman was to join a football team, she would be seen as intruding on male boundaries. These stereotypes also bring up the ideas of how men and women should look and behave. When a male or female goes against these social norms, society has a hard time accepting it. For example, a female basketball player with the name of Brittany Griner dominated the college league with dunks and block shots at a height of 6'8". Some say she also happens to have a deep voice, which makes her manly, and some even believe she was a man. There was actual talk that when she was joining the Olympic team, foreign teams wanted her to be tested for her gender to reveal if she was a male or a female. This proves that society has a hard time believing that women are more than capable of being great athletes, and they must be lesbian or transgender if they do excel in a sport.
Stay tuned to this program as we will be right back after another short commercial break.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to just give you some actions to do, and just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl. Aww.
Did you go back to Africa, please? I would have never felt this cool. I love to know people.
My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
You honestly, you can do like the top 50 and stuff. I know you.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
Sexuality stereotypes in the sports world have greatly contributed to homophobia from coaches, athletes, and officials in the sports world.
Homophobia in sports is extremely prevalent even in today's progressing world. Homophobia towards both athletes and coaches is exemplified with both subtle hostility that discourages people from coming out and also with outright discrimination towards those who do come out. An international study on LGBT issues in sports found that over 80% of the participants in the study had witnessed or experienced homophobia in sports. 83% of gay men and 63% of lesbians who play sports are in the closet while playing because of fear of discrimination from players and officials. 84% of gay men and 82% of lesbians have received verbal slurs such as faggot or dyke. 73% of people believe youth team sports are not safe or welcoming for LGBT people. 1 in 4 gay men said that they did not even attempt to play a team sport because they perceived that they would be rejected for their sexuality. One example of outright discrimination is football player Jake Bain. He is a freshman football player at Indiana State University. Jake Bain was highly pursued coming out of high school until he came out as gay his senior year. After his coming out was made public, all interest from college football coaches stopped, except for his current college coaches at Indiana State. An example of subtle hostility in sport is figure skating. Even in a sport that is considered less masculine than, say, football, there is fear of coming out. In 2018, Adam Rickpon became the first openly gay male American figure skater to compete at the Olympics. He was targeted online by people that do not support his right to be himself. Adam has appeared in numerous interviews talking openly about LGBT rights and the harassment that he faces in the world and in figure skating.
Another way sexism is displayed in the sports world is through rule differences by gender. Women are often denied opportunities, privileges, and subjected to rule differences by gender.
Many arguments have been made about the vast differences in men and women's sports rules. If men and women are seen as equal in society, why don't their sports share the same rules? In professional women's basketball, the courts are significantly smaller than men's, and their ball is smaller as well. Softball fields are also much smaller than baseball fields. One could argue that if the field was as big as the men's, the plays would have more time to develop, and this could provide for better outcomes. In women's lacrosse, there is a rule that girls cannot check while men can. After speaking with multiple women's lacrosse players, they find it very unfair that they cannot check, and it disrupts the game because the refs call all the infractions. Another interesting issue is that in lacrosse, field hockey, and tennis, women are required to wear skirts. It would be much more comfortable and effective to wear shorts while playing, but the sports world sexualizes women by having them wear skirts to draw a larger audience. Another difference is that women's tennis only plays 3 matches while men play 5. This concept was developed when people believed that women did not have the mental or physical capacity to endure activity that long. However, we now know that is not true, so why hasn't this changed? Women are not allowed to swim the 1500 at the Olympics as well. However, stellar athletes like Katie Ledecky have already conquered the 800, and in college she dominated the 1500. She should be given the opportunity to showcase her talents in the 1500 at the Olympics.
The next topic we will be discussing is the pay difference between men and women professional athletes. Despite their athletic success, women are often underpaid for their efforts and are under-recognized by society.
While it is true that most women's sports do not draw as large of a crowd or generate as much revenue as popular men's sports, the gender pay gap still exists in the sports world. For example, 57% of students on NCAA college campuses are women. However, only 43% of participation opportunities are available to them. This means that in total, there are 63,241 fewer participation opportunities for women. In the professional sports world, the pay gap exists too. In 2015, the United States women's soccer team won the World Cup. They won a total of $2 million. That same year, the men got 11th at the World Cup and won a total of $9 million. The women's team generates $20 million more than the men's team, and the women earn 1/4 of the men's salary. In addition to this, the men get $263,329 if they win their friendlies matches, and $100,000 even if they lose all of their matches. The women's team, however, is only guaranteed $99,000 if they win all of their friendlies matches. This is a blatant example of how women are paid less than men in the sports world for no logical reason.